total revolt in the House as Republicans reject Kevin McCarthy yet again. Multiple rounds of voting here. This has not happened since 1923. Kevin McCarthy now losing his third round of voting for House Speaker on Tuesday, showing what chaos the Republican Party is in. What does this mean for the future of the GOP? What does it mean for the markets? What does it mean for you? We're getting into all of it in today's show. Welcome. Happy New Year, everyone. I am Trish Regan. This is the Trish Regan Show, portions of which are brought to you by Legacy Precious Metals. Never been a better time to invest long-term in gold. So go to legacypminvestments.com today for your free investing guide. Again, legacypminvestments.com. We are also brought to you in part by Rough Greens, a company I love talking about because I love talking about my dog. I'm not ashamed to admit it. I have the most adorable, cutest little thing. His name is Fluffy. He is a wonderful addition to our family. He has just changed our lives in so many ways. And so it's so important to me and to all members of my family that he is in good health. Well, I know he's in good health because I give him every day as a supplement, just on top of his food, something called Rough Greens. You can do this too for your dog. I know it'll make a difference. I've seen the difference in Fluffy. Go to roughgreens.com/Trish because this is how you're going to get your free trial bag of Rough Greens. Dr. Dennis Black, naturopathic doctor, created this special offer. Roughgreens.com/Trish, and it's spelled RUFF. You get it, right? Roughgreens.com/Trish. Go get your free trial bag. Let me know. I just posted a picture of Fluffy on Facebook, actually. Let me know how it does for you. I think you're going to see a difference. I know Fluffy certainly has. I want to get to business of the day, which is changing by the minute. I was waiting. In fact, it's a little late for me to be posting a show. However, this has been just such a volatile situation. It was changing and changing. I thought we'd have a House Speaker by now, but here we are, Tuesday evening, and we do not. 3 rounds, and he has managed to lose all of them here or not win any of them. And again, it's the first time since 1923 that a House Speaker wasn't selected on the first ballot. The idea here is that they're going to stay until somehow they win. That was what they were saying after the second ballot. But I don't know. Look, a lot of different names have been floated. You had Arizona Representative Andy Biggs as one of the big opponents of McCarthy in the first round. Matt Gaetz, of course, has been a very vocal opponent of McCarthy as well. He nominated Representative Jim Jordan, the Ohio Republican, who does actually support McCarthy. But anyway, Jim Jordan was winning in the second round. I mean, so and on it goes, right? I believe that this is going to be a true mess for the Republicans because it speaks to the division within the party. And this struggle, I guess, over the speakership is the crowning moment of that struggle, which has been erupting for some time, as you have people that are, say, maybe more in the Trump camp and others that are in the, I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't even say there's really a Mitt Romney camp out there, but in a more traditional style conservative camp that looking for something else. I mean, the thing is so splintered, right? I mean, you can put conservatives now into, I think, 3 different buckets. You've got those that are uber MAGA. Then you've got sort of the Mitt Romney style, but they're not so hot and popular anymore. And then you've got sort of the middle of the road folks that aren't uber MAGA, but maybe are more sort of Kevin McCarthy-esque. But let's be clear, like Kevin McCarthy, like he came out after January 6th, right? He was all upset, outraged, and then he came back and he took it all back. And it's sort of like nobody really knows where he stands because he's all over the place. So it's hard for me to sort of get my head around it, other than to say, I don't think Kevin McCarthy knows who he is. The American people have picked up on that. The sharks that are in the water, right, that are circling within the Republican political domain, they've picked up on that. And so consequently, you now have a party in crisis, a party that doesn't know who it is, what it's supposed to stand for, what its future is. Now everybody's out sort of backstabbing, and we now have apparently no leadership. Again, multiple rounds happening on this Tuesday evening. And I'm just going to say this is bad. This is bad for Republicans. It's bad for conservatives. It's bad for anybody who really believes in the freedom of the individual in small government. When these guys don't have their act together, it has a real ripple effect, and it affects sentiment. It affects how the American people think of them. And if you're like, these losers can't even pick a guy or gal to run their party, how on earth are they supposed to govern the country? It becomes really problematic. Of course, it's a Democrat's dream, right? If I'm a Democrat, I'm loving this because it helps what I'm trying to prove, that they are so disorganized and so messed up that they can't actually do the job of governing. So great for Democrats here. Really, really bad news for Republicans as they now are really looking at total chaos. And really, there's no reason for it. Somebody should have figured this out ahead of time. He should have made sure that he had the votes. This is just one messed up situation. But this is what happens with government. Government keeps messing up. They've messed up over and over again. Think about how they messed up during COVID. Think about how they messed up in terms of our economic health. They shut down the entire economy. It was a disaster that never should have happened. Look, if you were the one that did the tough thing during COVID and paid your people, right, and pulled your business through that pandemic, the hard thing for you is that you probably suffered a lot of losses, which is why I want to tell you about an organization, one of the sponsors of this program, covidtaxrelief.org, that can help you make some of that up. You know, you could now qualify for up to $26,000 per employee, believe it or not, at covidtaxrelief.org. Government funds, they are still available because this government still hasn't spent all the money, right? They made all these provisions, but they haven't allocated it. They haven't doled it out, and it's a bureaucratic nightmare. Well, this company can help. Government funds are available to reward companies with 2 or more employees who stayed open during COVID. And this is not a loan. So the good news is you don't have to pay it back. You know, a lot of people thought this was already over, but it's still going on. It is complicated, but nobody knows more about it than the CPAs and the tax experts at covidtaxrelief.org. You're going to pay nothing up front. They're going to do all the work. They'll share a percentage of the cash that they get for you. But again, this is kind of found money if you were the one who stayed open and employed people and paid them. And if you haven't gotten any relief, go to covidtaxrelief.org. Businesses of all types. We're talking about even nonprofits, churches, they can all qualify, including those actually who took PPP loans. Even if you had an increase in sales, you can qualify. So if you did the tough thing, the right thing for your employees during COVID, let covidtaxrelief.org help you get up to $26,000 per employee. Visit covidtaxrelief.org today. Again, it's covidtaxrelief.org, covidtaxrelief.org. Important, right? It's important to take care of ourselves because our government certainly can't. And when they try, they somehow wind up, sending checks to people who are already deceased. So this is why you need some help. covidtaxrelief.org. Get your share today. Speaking of your share, I hope you're watching this market. I suspect we're in for a tumultuous time, a difficult January. Already we're off to a rough start. And what we're seeing there on Capitol Hill does not help. I mean, it's a little bit of a red herring in that they'll figure it out eventually. And I don't think that the economy is going to collapse because of it. So you have to take these things in stride and know that while it doesn't look good for Republicans and it certainly doesn't make us look good on the world stage, it's not going to totally collapse these markets. What will collapse these markets are bad policies, which we've had many and will continue to have more of. You heard me talking in just yesterday's program about gold and the potential for $3,000 an ounce, which one analyst over at a Danish bank is predicting. And while it's totally far-fetched in many ways, the concept isn't, in that you are starting to see a lot of nations around the country retreat away from dollar-backed assets. And obviously they can't go to cryptos. So where are they going to go? They're going to go to those safe havens, things like gold, which tend to perform better in an inflationary environment. Now, gold hasn't performed that well, in part because you've got central banks around the world raising rates. Well, the thinking is, you raise rates, that's going to contain inflation, until, you realize it's not containing inflation, and it's not going to contain inflation. If we really wanted to contain inflation, you know what, we'd be doing what Paul Volcker did back in the early 1980s, because apples to apples, we can talk some more about it in tomorrow's program, but apples to apples, you're looking at a very similar situation inflation-wise of what we had in the early 80s, and it took a lot more than these small interest rate hikes that we're getting right now to get that under control. So keep all of that in mind. And when you do, look at diversifying your portfolio. I mean, there's a lot of different things to be looking at right now. You've heard me talk about treasuries. You've heard me talk about just the bond market in general, which is looking more promising. And then, of course, I talk a lot about gold and silver. Of course, Legacy Precious Metals is one of our wonderful sponsors on this show. So I'd be talking about it regardless of them, just because I think it's an important diversification tool to have some gold in your portfolio. It's the kind of thing that I hold for a long time. in my own personal life and in my own personal portfolio. And I don't really watch it. I just kind of figure, you know what, it's there for the long haul to help even out inflation and hopefully to even out any fluctuations in my portfolio. So get your free investing guide at Legacy Precious Metals, legacypminvestments.com today. Again, it's legacypminvestments.com. They can walk you through all of this. Their phone number, if you want to call them, by the way, you're welcome to use my name, of course. Call them and they'll help you figure out what's right for you and whether you need that gold-backed IRA, or maybe you want the real stuff in a safe deposit box, or hey, maybe you want it in your safe, in your home. I learned the other day that $1 million worth of gold, can you imagine, can fit in one shoebox. For those that are really nervous, I guess, about the future. Anyway, their phone number is 1-866-589-0560, 1-866-589-0560. Just a wonderful team there. I do think we're in for some treacherous times ahead, aside from the circus, and it is a circus that's going on with Kevin McCarthy there on Capitol Hill as we speak. But we shall hopefully know more tomorrow. He may not make it. I'll tell you that. He just may not make it. We will catch up tomorrow, all of us. Thank you, as always, for listening, and I'll see you then.